Good afternoon. My name is Devin Farmer, and I will be talking to you all about the benefits of playing video games. Now, I know relatively little research has focused on the benefits of playing video games. The vast majority of research focuses on its negative impact, specifically referring to children and adolescents, and its potential harm regarding violence, addiction, and depression. Now, before we officially start, I wanted to share a quote with you all. I was searching online last night for a quote that illustrates the positive influence that video games have on our mind, our emotions. So, a game is an opportunity to focus our energy with relentless optimism as something we're good at, we're getting better at, and enjoy. In other words, gameplay is the direct emotional opposite of depression. Hopefully, after reviewing my presentation, your outlook on video games changes and you decide to pick up a controller. Before I delve into the actual content, I wanted to ask a question to the audience. Would you consider video games to be harmful or beneficial? So, as a parent, I understand the bad stigma that's associated with playing video games. Some video games do illustrate blood, gore, fighting, inappropriate language, and even sexual content. However, as a gamer as well, I also understand the benefits that video games provide, which I will illustrate throughout this PowerPoint. I believe that if children are not supervised or given a time limit when playing video games, that is when the bad influence becomes apparent. Table of contents. The four main spheres. Let's dive into these four categories: cognitive, motivational, emotional, and social, in which while playing video games, it fosters the development of mental health and social skills. Cognitive. Reading. So, a good majority of kids nowadays, and even when I was in school, they did not like reading at all. So, to counteract that, video games. Text-based games without voiceovers require large amounts of reading, such as Pokemon, for example. According to this survey, 79% of young people who play video games also read material related to the medium. This includes in-game communications for 40% of the respondents, reviews and blogs for 31%, books for 22%, and fan fiction for 19%. Another subtopic is problem solving. Problem solving, game designers often provide very little instruction about how to solve in-game problems, providing players with a nearly blank palette from which to explore a huge range of possible solutions based on past experience and intuitions. Another example would be trial and error, and then games would be Minecraft or Civilization, which also include strategic planning and stuff like that. Visual spatial reasoning. Visuals. Evidence also demonstrates that playing video games increase the size and competence of parts of the brain responsible for visual-spatial skills, a person's ability to identify visual and spatial relationships among objects. In long-term gamers and individuals who had volunteered to follow a video game training plan, the right hippocampus was enlarged. Understanding distance and space, and then game examples include Tetris, Minecraft, Medal of Honor, and Sims. Hand-eye coordination. Attention, video game players display improvements in several types of attention, including sustained attention and selective attention, more efficient in gamers compared with non-gamers. They require less activation to stay focused on demanding tasks. Unpredictable changes in context is another subtopic of attention. Organizational skills. Many popular games like RPGs or role-playing games require players to manage inventory, sort through skill sets, keep track of turns and character levels. An example of that would be The Witcher, Fable, games like that, or even Fallout. Math practice. So many games involve the usage of statistics, encouraging players to understand values and numbers. Sports games in particular are a great example of this. When building your team, an athlete's averages and statistics become important factors. Shot percentages, batting averages, and goals per game are all based on number crunching. Memory is the last subtopic of cognitive. Let's go on to motivational. Motivational. So this slide is funny if you know who this character is. For those of you who don't, it's the Lich King. And that first bullet, I made it especially for him. Persevere in the face of failure. And I have a quote that goes with it as well. For math practice, persistence and engagement. Immediate and concrete feedback in video games. Through points, coins, dead ends, and puzzles, serves to reward continual effort and keeps players within what Vygotsky coined the zone of proximal development. This motivational sweet spot balances optimal levels of challenge and frustration with sufficient experiences of success and accomplishment. Now, to toy around with this, it's a quote by McGonagall, who is a game designer and author of Reality is Broken, Why Games Make Us Better, and How They Can Change the World. She went on to analyze the connection between video games and happiness as pure chemistry. One of the earlier findings from the neuroscience of gaming around 20 years ago, she believes, was when they first started seeing a big dopamine rush was involved with video games. It was as much of a dopamine rush as when somebody injects methamphetamines. The effect is pretty clear. The more dopamine you have flowing and are able to access, the more motivated and goal-oriented you are. This helps, and this part right here is exactly reminds me of the Lich King and the raid battle. This helps explain why gamers never give up and why you can see a player trying to tackle the same stupid level 50 times in a row and they still have hope. Okay, let's go on to emotional. Emotional. Love all these games. Improved mood, promote relaxation, relieve anxiety, especially Angry Birds, Mario Kart, and Pokemon's one of my favorites. For example, studies suggest that playing video games, games with minimal interfaces, short-term commitments, and a high degree of accessibility, such as Angry Birds, Bejeweled, Mario Kart, can improve players' moods, promote relaxation, and ward off anxiety. Video games also help individuals escape the emotional pain of real life, to include bullying, living situations, work-related, etc. And the last one is social. Over 70% of gamers play games with their friends, either cooperative or competitively, to include, i.e., play dates. And it's a mainstream topic of conversation for kids to talk about at school, especially those kids that are antisocial or have a hard time trying to make friends and know what to say. Video game, the industry itself, the gaming industry itself is an easy topic for kids to talk about. And then you got competitive and collaborative. Certain competitive games, if used properly, can promote pro-social behavior and skill development, to include team building. I mean, you have these games that you have to be on a team and to reach objectives. So overall, that is my PowerPoint. These are the references. This is the either journals, articles that I pulled from to create this PowerPoint and show y'all the advantages of playing video games. And are there any questions? If not, thank you for listening to my PowerPoint.